somehow, I'm still trying to figure this out.
Oh gosh.
How he was left in there or not left in there, but open up the closet upstairs is the linen as you go towards the master and some dead dudes in the closet. I think he OD.
So maybe like broken, like squatter status, like he looked homeless, that situation?
No.
Okay.
No. Yeah, he'd done a model tour, but stayed in there and they didn't, catch him.
Oh my God.
He just trying to close out and we found him in the closet.
No. Hi everyone, welcome back to Behind the Lockbox. I'm Stephanie Zalowski, and today we have Justin Brennan with us.
What's up?
What's up, man? Okay, so Justin has been in the real estate industry since 2010. He is a dad to 2 adorable children, but he is now the multifamily CEO, according to his Instagram bio. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. He also has a killer podcast called Abundance to Give, which I've so graciously invited myself on. So look out for that, guys. And if you haven't listened to it yet, you should, because it's really, really good. Justin, welcome to Behind the Lockbox.
Hey, I'm excited to be
I'm so glad you're here. Okay. When you walked in, we were like briefly chatting about, well, we were talking about all kinds of things initially, but you were laughing because you were recalling a couple stories you had. Because again, you can tell the people, so you're not doing so much residential sales anymore. You are doing multifamily investing, apartment buildings, things like that. Tell me a little bit about like how you made that transition.
We do both. So we flip some houses,
Okay.
a bunch of those,
Okay.
in multifamily investing where we'll buy an apartment complex.
Mm-hmm.
These days, mostly out of California, and we will renovate it. So we'll bring in our money with other investors' money.
Mm-hmm.
We'll renovate the building and raise the rents.
Yeah.
And then hold on to it for 3 to 5 years.
That's amazing.
And then eventually sell the property.
And we were just talking with last week's guest about like, it's where the money is. Like, if you're going to be investing and you want a portfolio, like buying a bunch of single family homes, sure, you can make some money on that, but doors is really where you're going to make the money. If this is something that
So we're flipping, because I just had a podcast with Brian Daly.
Yeah.
With We Revive, and we were chatting about it. I've known him for many years.
Mm-hmm.
You can make a good living. You can actually get rich with flipping. Right.
Yes, but I mean just buying a couple single family,
Right.
just holding
For rent.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. Well, and I was chuckling the other day with my buddy who just bought 12 single family rentals in Georgia, and he closed escrow, and he was super excited. I said, "Hey,
Wow.
congrats, great job." But I'm like,
what are you going
"Don't ever do that again." and he's like,
Don't ever do that again.
and he's like, "Why?" I said, "Well, listen, why would you buy 12 single family rentals all over the place,
Yeah.
even if it's in a region,
Right.
when you could buy one building that has 12 units in it?"
Correct.
And he's like, "Well, I understand that, but I don't understand that. I mean, I don't understand the game of multifamily and commercial real estate and the loan."
It's different, for sure.
I said, "Perfect." I said, "I can show you 5 minutes. You
Yeah.
feel comfortable with it?
Yeah.
And then if you ever get into that scenario again, just ask.
Just call. Yeah.
Just ask me and talk to you." Because I said, I get why people are scared about it, because they just don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
And a home is they could bite-size that.
For sure. And it knows that. It's so different. And I mean, even I've started diving into that because I'm now interested. Like, I want to know, I would rather have a couple doors in an apartment building than have multiple houses that I want to be a landlord for. Like, no, thank you. You know what I'm saying?
So yeah, because what got us going in that was back in the 2008 financial crisis.
Mhm.
Watching my dad and our family go through a lot. I mean, his businesses collapse, watched everything go down. And with that kind of got into my mind where he was very good at making a lot of money,
Okay.
but he was very good at losing a lot of money.
Yeah. So you saw that and immediately, and you're like, I don't want to be in that same boat.
Yeah, that wasn't because he was a bad business person. He was very a business person, but he didn't understand the real game of money.
Okay.
He understood how to
Maybe
manage it, but he didn't understand how to properly leverage it and manage it to grow it further.
Okay.
And not get over leveraged.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happened in the financial crisis is everybody got over leveraged, and then it was very violent way down. It was very fast, and that they had you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that got me thinking, hey, I want to sleep at night,
Yeah.
but I still want to get wealthy.
Yeah.
So where's the real game? And I noticed that a lot of my friends, their parents, whether they were doctors, attorneys, didn't really matter what profession they were in. They all had one thing in common, and that is they had rental income property in their portfolio. But we had bought at this time we had couple duplexes, a triplex, a fourplex. And so we have about 20 units.
Okay.
And maybe that's $3.5 million in assets at that time.
Sure.
We thought we made it, right?
Yeah.
This is
This was amazing.
and it's all our own money and whatever. And that was great. But then we're like, we still want to grow.
Yeah.
But we don't know how to do that.
Right.
We're running on money.
Right.
Because
Right.
these are mostly our own.
Right.
And then, of course, here comes YouTube. So, of course, I'm on there scrolling late night. And I come across these things about OPM, other people's money, and syndication, which is some sexy term. And I'm like, what in the world is all this?
Like, what does this mean? Yeah.
So then I jumped into this game of understanding the game of money.
Mm.
And what I learned very quickly is why there's two groups of people in the world.
Mhm.
There are creators and contributors.
Mm-hmm.
Creators and contributors. Creators, we create products and services into the marketplace.
Yep.
And then contributors consume it, right? The money leaves their pocketbooks and it moves over to the pocketbooks of the creators.
Yep.
Because contributors are W-2 employees.
Yes.
Okay. You're earning good money, but you're working in the system. You're working for the man.
Sure.
Maybe pissed off at the world because you're still working for the man.
Yep. Then.
And you want to move away from that,
Yep.
right? But you're in. You're a contributor to the capitalistic system,
For sure.
which is why you also get pissed when you don't get a lot of tax breaks.
Yeah.
And you see all the rich people getting them.
Yes.
So you have to understand why that's happening.
Yeah.
It's not because...
And a lot of people don't.
No, they don't.
They just like to complain about it and they think that they're doing something corrupt or whatever, but they're not yet. I know.
And yet they soon realize, what I had to realize, is that the IRS loves creators and they don't like contributors. Contributors are just in the system.
Mm-hmm.
They need you,
Yeah.
but they don't really like you.
Right. Right.
And creators, because you create a lot of products and services and you move money, that's the key term everybody needs to understand.
For sure.
Move a lot of money,
For sure.
you get a lot of tax breaks.
Right.
If you don't move a lot of money,
You're not.
you don't get tax breaks. And it's that simple.
Yeah.
Because in capitalism, you need to move money.
Yeah.
And so you'll get a lot of benefits.
Good for you for like really diving into that though. Cause again,
See what we do. It's crazy.
I've started to dive into some of this myself. Just because I literally got to that place where I was like, okay, something needs to change here. And I don't want to keep spinning my wheels the way that I am. So what can I do? So I am at the beginning stages of it, but I've been really surrounding myself with more people like you, where I'm like asking the right questions. How are you doing this? How did you do this?
Yep.
How can I do it with mine? Like, let's look at my setup or whatever the case may be. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
And when I show people that you could literally go control a 10 to 30 unit apartment building in the next 90 days with as little as $18,000 out of pocket, they're like, what the
Yeah. And you're like, I'm telling you.
But the reason I told it is because I said, you don't understand the game of money.
Yeah.
I said, once you understand OPM
Mm-hmm.
and you realize that people want to invest and they want to invest in real estate, that's not your problem. They just need a deal that makes sense financially
Right.
and a trusted source to invest with.
Right. Right.
So you need to provide that.
Yeah. If you want to be that, then yeah.
Yeah, and you're either going to bring the sweat equity or the check equity, I call it. Sweat equity or check equity. And if you don't have the capital, that's okay. Not a lot of people do.
Yep.
But if you have a lot of knowledge and ability to execute,
Right.
then you are very valuable as somebody with money. Just remember that.
Yeah.
Check equity or sweat equity.
Yeah.
So if you don't have the check,
Yeah.
bring the sweat.
Yeah.
And so I was literally at a Tom Ferry conference in 2008. In the midst of the financial crisis, sitting there in the audience amongst 5,000 realtors.
Uh-huh. Been there.
Yeah, Tom comes out, rah-rah on everybody. Yeah, all right, Tom Perry. And everybody's all excited. And he says, okay, who here would like to own rental income property? So all the realtors' hands go up.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
He's like, awesome. Who here financially right now could go buy rental income property?
And then again.
And 9 out of the hands go down.
Right.
And he says, you're missing the secret. And everybody's like, what's the secret, Tom?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, you don't need to have a single dime to own rental income property. He said, you just need to have a friend that has the capital to own rental income property. He says that you have the ability to find good deals, analyze them, put them together, manage and run them. I said, you're extremely valuable to somebody with money.
Yeah.
Who wants to do that too. They just don't have.
They don't have that source to do that. Right.
So you're very valuable.
Right.
That's the sweat. And then so light bulb goes off because I'm getting my ass handed to me at this finance 2008.
I was in the
So I said-
industry at that time.
I said, who do I know that
Has
wants
money.
to, wants to, they has money.
Yeah.
They want to be in real estate. Then we share the idea of apartments and
Yeah.
income.
Yeah.
They want to do this, but they don't have someone like me and they need me and I need them because they're capital source. For sure I know.
Right.
And I thought of my buddy from grad school, Christopher Pulley. And I met him in the back of grad school one afternoon. We're sitting on our laptops, plugging away, and it's a break. And I look over and I see a screen, looks like kind of like an Atari game going on like a Google map.
Yeah.
Right? Like bunch of pieces moving around. I'm like,
what are you doing?
it's basically what I asked him.
Is he trading?
And no, he's like, I'm watching a battle in Iraq right now.
A battle of
Battles, like a live battle. U.S. This is 2005.
Oh my
So
God.
we were in Iraq.
Yeah.
And you're watching the live feed from dedicated satellite
Wow.
in Iraq, a battle. And I'm like,
Why?
the fuck are you?
Yeah. Are you in the CIA? Like, what is actually
I'm like,
happening?
who are you? What do you do? And he's like, I can't really show you this. So he turned it off. He was a CTO, a chief technology officer at that time of a company called Tapestry Solutions. They're the same.
Interesting. Okay.
And they designed the software for the U.S. military that tracks assets in battlefield like a FedEx barcode.
Wow.
So all of our assets in battlefield have this. We can see everything in real time where it's moving.
Amazing.
So we know when things are running out of water, they need gas, they need bullets, they need...
I've never even thought about any of this or looked into it, so I had no idea that makes sense, but that's amazing.
It's a super smart guy.
Yeah.
And not affected by the real estate industry.
No. You're like, how do I get to where you are? Right. Because this sucks. Yeah.
So we got into talking about apartments and how we wanted to half flow, and our dads were in it a little bit.
Yeah.
And so fast forward 3 years later, in the midst of the financial crisis, I'm sitting there going, who do I know? And so I went to him and I said, Chris, here's the deal. I'm going to find all the deals. I'm going to do everything. I'm going to run the company. I will literally do everything, but I don't have the capital right now.
Yeah.
I'll do everything.
Yeah.
If you bring in the capital for down payment, sign on our first loan, I'll run everything else.
Okay.
We'll collect checks, split 50-50.
Wow.
And we were on board. And that's how literally
that's how you kind of got
this company, Brennan Pulley Group, found it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so you're still working with him today, because I saw like that you still have that name and everything.
So our first rental property was a condo in Murrieta, California, $100,000. We put $25,000.
If only that we could get those today. You know what I mean?
Okay. Well, $4 million.
Yeah, exactly.
$25,000 down payment, $75,000 loan. He handled all the capital. I handled everything else. And then from there, we got into duplex, triplex, fourplex. And we had about 20 units. And then we started running out of our own money.
Yeah.
So that's what spurred the whole game.
Okay.
And I started doing the YouTube lookup and found out about some conferences about syndication.
Yeah.
And there was one going on in Boston, Massachusetts. And it just so happened, like, I don't know if you've had tragedy in your life. Have you lost a loved one? Okay. So in 2018, my sister passed.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, and it was hard. Like, she was 46.
It's way too young. Yeah.
But during those times, you kind of, you're like, look, I don't know what I'm doing with my life.
Yeah, exactly. And you're like, what really matters? And
perspective. Am I giving all the effort I should be giving in my life?
Yep.
I just too short. I go, I think, through this process.
You do.
I was sitting there, and I'll never forget this. I was sitting in my car, just done a listing appointment. And
traditional listing.
Yeah, and I was doing well in real estate.
Yeah.
But I'm like, Justin,
I remember, because I was in the business back then, and I remember seeing you on the peripheral, and you were doing very well.
Yeah, and I enjoyed like that part of it, but I sat there going, this is not everything I want.
Sure.
And I've always wanted this.
Right.
And so I said, we're going to make something happen there. And that was kind of like one of these defining moments of tragedy where you're like sitting there like going, enough is enough.
Yeah, something has to change.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's when I literally booked my ticket to Boston, flew out to the syndication conference with 3,500 people. And I'm sitting in a room with all these people. And it's good to see this because people have imposter syndrome a lot.
Yes.
We're all guilty of it. I is too.
Yeah.
But then sitting in that room, I'm going, if these people could do it.
Isn't that always the thing, though? Because I've actually been fighting some imposter syndrome lately. I'll just be very honest about it. And I literally, something came up yesterday on, I think it was Instagram or something. And I was like, if this can do that, like what? Like, because I told you, I've been really, it's actually, I didn't know enough about what you were doing. So it's kind of wild and kismet that we're having this conversation, because like these are things that I've been thinking of lately. And I'm kind of, when you're kind of at a turning point where you feel like things are about to take a turn and like for the good. And like, there's been some pain points and I've been really kind of weeding through it the last 6 months.
Yeah.
And nothing has crazy bad happened. I mean, we've had some family stuff go on that if something bad could have happened, it didn't, luckily. Like, what would I have done? So, you think about all these things, right? I also just turned 40 last year. That was I think that has a lot to do with it.
That's a holy shit moment.
It was a holy shit moment. I'm going to be 41 next month. And I think I was like, okay, like for the next 15 to 20 years, what do I want this to really look like? So I'm in that growth phase right now where it's very uncomfortable. It's very painful. And I'm sick of the pain. You know what I mean? Like, I want some things to change. And
That's usually what does it.
It is what does it.
People make, and I'm a big studier of psychology and all that stuff. So people make moves in life based on pain and pleasure.
Mm-hmm. They do. Right. We've been taught that even in real estate, right? Like,
And most people, if you ask them, they'll tell you pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
They're full of shit.
They're full of shit. I 100% agree with you.
Because when push comes to shove, if it were pleasure, then the thought of losing 20 pounds would make everybody super excited to go lose 20 pounds.
Exactly.
Because the pleasure is not enough.
It's not.
But if you knew you were going to die next week,
yep.
Because if you don't lose the 20 pounds, you're going to die.
Yep. Yep.
Trust me, you'd lose the 20 pounds.
You would. You would stop eating the donuts. Yes. Right. Exactly.
The pain or the fear of.
Yes.
Usually what moves the needle.
100%. Yep. Yeah.
So same thing with me is you almost have to trick your brain a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And realize, and I appreciate Gary Vaynerchuk because he tells people you have time.
I love him so much.
I'm like, you have time.
But
I'm like, Gary, you're right. Technically you have time, but you really don't.
But you don't, because we don't really know. Right. And I love his sentiment on a lot. Like, I listen to a lot of his stuff, and I was actually on a Zoom call with him a couple weeks ago, and I think he's great. But like, I thought the same thing though. Like, he said that on the call, like, and I was like, but do we? Because I've lost a lot of people in my life.
If you keep waking up every day thinking you have time and you don't want to apply urgency to your life, then
great. You're going to be lean back. Yeah.
You'll be 10 years down the line going, oh, I still have time.
100%.
10 years, oh, still have time.
Right.
The next thing you know,
and then exactly.
So you know what I do?
And I kind of woke up at 40 feeling that. You know what I'm saying? Like, where you're just like, wait, where did the last 10 years go?
Yeah, and I feel like I lost a bit of that with the financial crisis.
Yeah.
We took advantage of it. We should have taken more advantage.
Sure.
And then
I feel the same.
I also feel like I was in a marriage that we weren't aligned.
Sure.
So that was 6 years, 6, 7 years,
mm-hmm.
where
nothing was happening, right?
Yeah, nothing was moving
the needle.
Right.
Yeah.
We were status quo.
Right.
So I felt like some lost time there.
Yeah.
But you got to go.
Yeah. And that's kind of
how we got to allow the how to show up sometimes. So
yeah, and that's how I feel the last 6-7 years have been. Like, you just kind of I do think turning 40 was what did it, because it made me. It's just the whole, like, looking back on the last decade. What have I accomplished? There's something about these milestone birthdays where you kind of look back and think like, okay, have I made the right decisions? Like, look, I'm not married. I don't have children. So I'm not anomaly, right? And
did you want to have married and get children?
I just kind of always thought it would happen.
Yeah.
And then it didn't. And I was like, that's fine. Like, I do want to get married. I actually.
The children are off the table?
Yeah. And I'm okay with that. Like, I was never, there's a lot of women who very much are like, I want to be a mom. I want to be married. I want to have the family. Those words never came out of my mouth. I was definitely different in that way from a lot of, really everybody I knew.
Totally fine too.
Totally fine. But like, in the world that we grew up in, we're all around the same age, aren't we? Yeah.
45. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So like it was kind of what you should do, what you did do, you know what I'm saying? Like, our parents did it, so we were kind of shown that this is what you do, right? And so I've always taken that different path. I've always taken the harder path. I've always, like, when I started back in real estate, because I did home loans, and I graduated college in 2007. The economy tanked. I was working with Countrywide.
Oh, good.
Uh-huh.
I was an asset manager. We handle all the loans.
Yeah. So we tanked the economy. Cool. Plus on. Anyway, Bank of America came in, and I had to work for them, but they put me in a foreclosure. And that was the first time in my adult life where I was like, this is not what my life is going to look like. I am not going to sit in a cubicle and push pencils and be looking at appraisals where people have destroyed their houses because they're pissed off. Like, I am out of here. And that's when I moved here, because I'm from Arizona. So I moved to San Diego, and I went to school for marketing and advertising. And so I got into corporate because I was at a corporate job. I went to another corporate job, and I was talking to a friend back in 2016, a friend's mom, actually, Deborah Greenspan. And she was like, I don't know why you're not back in real estate, but you need to be on the sales side this time. And so I decided to take the plunge. I had savings. I was able to do it, that whole thing. And I remember, I told my parents, like, I'll never ask you for money. Just like, just support me in this venture, right? Because I'd quit my job and like just went head first, right? Which it's good to do that, I think, initially with entrepreneur when you're young, because like, if I knew what I know now, I don't think I ever would have done it.
Listen, ignorance is bliss.
It is bliss. And it was good that I
need a little bit of that ignorance.
You do. You need a little bit of the delusion.
Yes, and Elon Musk was asked the question, like, if you knew what you knew now, then would you start at like PayPal and,
right.
and all the bullshit you've gone through SpaceX.
Right,
and
right.
Tesla. He's like, no way in hell. I would stop.
Yeah.
And I'm like, exactly.
Because as humans, we see that and that we see the pain that's coming. And so you're like, I don't want to feel that, so I'm not going to do it. Right. And so it was the same thing. And I think that like getting into this business, like I'm so glad that I got back into it, and I could never go back to like anything else. But now I've turned another corner where now it's like, okay, exactly what you said, like this can't be all. Like it's great. It's fun. I love my clients and I love what I do, but I feel like there's something else. There's something more.
Sure.
And there's something extra. And so I've been going to some of these like seminars here or like online, or just like surrounding myself with people who are kind of in this multifamily flip game, like whatever it is they're doing. And I'm like, so tell me how you did that, because I was never taught any of this either. I had no idea. Like you, I was like, what is syndicate? Like I didn't know these words until a couple of years ago. Right. And so, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. And it's, I think, realizing that you do want more. That's step one.
Yeah.
And you're destined for that.
Yeah.
And I never wanted to be a realtor.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Neither did I.
But I fell into it through the financial crisis, because watching that happen to my dad, the development was done. So I became an asset manager for a third-party asset management company here in San Diego. So we were handling EMC, Chase, Countrywide, E&A, Flirty, Fannie.
Yeah.
I mean, I was handling 300-400 assets at a time. And bidding them up to the realtors.
It was a wild. It was a wild time.
Wild. And I did that for 2 years, but then I saw it moving to short sales.
Yes.
From foreclosures.
Yes.
And I had my broker's license. And so I went to the owners of the company.
Oh, good for you.
And David Buckley and Buckley and Holy.
Okay.
And I said, hey, do you guys see what's happening? Like it's moving from Mario's short sales, and that means your inventory is going to start.
Sure. Yeah.
As the homeowners, right? And they said they did, but then they didn't do anything about it. And I'm like, I said, I see the game moving here. So anyhow, long story short, I jumped out and became a short sale agent, basically.
Yeah.
And I was the perfect one.
Yeah.
Because I'm coming from the bank.
Yeah.
I know
you knew what they were looking at. You knew all of it.
I could walk onto somebody's home, sit down, and look at the 14 loans they had on their.
And these are the things that like people told I should have done something like that, because I was also seeing some of that. You know what I mean? And then but I was young and just was like, I want out of this. I don't want anything to do with it. Because I felt like I graduated college, the economy tanked, and we lost real estate. So, like I was just pissed off, and I was like, I'm going to a higher end job. I'm going to work my corporate ladder. I'll be the CEO of the market, whatever. Like I had those other visions, right? And as soon as I got there, I was like, oh, this is not for me, and this is being my own boss and doing my own thing is definitely where I belong and more suited for that. You know what I mean? But again, we're at another turn.
I see it's real.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of how that started. And then from there, I was in the realtor world doing short sales, and then became traditional.
Yeah.
But then at that time, that was right around 2010. That's when that game happened, where I started buying rentals.
Right.
Because I knew that we needed to buy property in the financial crisis. And then you get to a certain point, you max out your money, and I had to learn about OPM.
Yeah.
And that started the syndication. So I went out there to see all these people, learn this stuff. I come home from it, and I'm gung-ho. And I met some people that were from Kansas City, Missouri.
Oh yeah, because you went to Boston. That's right. We got sidetracked. Sorry, but yeah, I
was in Boston, and then came back home. But I'd met some folks that were doing business and some brokers and stuff in Kansas City from the conference.
Mm-hmm.
So I started doing my research out of California, because we needed to expand, because California's too expensive.
Yes.
And our dollar needed to go farther.
Yeah.
So I started looking in the Midwest.
Yeah.
Kansas City was one of them.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget this, because this broker guy, Kerry Stronyak, he says, hey, you need to come to Kansas City and see this place. It's amazing. And I'm like, it's a city?
Are you sure?
He's like, yeah. He's like, just come. Trust me.
Okay.
How long you lived in San Diego?
Me?
Yeah.
Since 2013.
Okay. So you get to see the early 2000s downtown when they were building the ballpark.
No.
And they had cranes everywhere, and like
No.
it was like everything's in the sky.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So unbelievable. So I fly into Kansas City. I land. I'm driving towards downtown. And mind you, this is January.
Okay.
It's probably -19.
Yeah.
I don't even know what.
My sister-in-law's from there.
All I know is I froze my ass off.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
They're like, I don't think I have the red jacket. Does someone else have a coat for me? Thanks.
right. And it just happened to be the weekend the Patriots were playing the Chiefs in the AFC title game. So I was super stoked because I'm a Patriot fan.
That's awesome.
And I fly in there and there's cranes everywhere in downtown. And I'm going, oh my God, like this is pretty much
Yeah.
San Diego.
Yeah.
And like, this is it.
Yeah.
So we go in there, we tour, learn all the good areas, bad areas, what to be and stuff.
Sure.
And I said, okay, show me like some areas where you think it's path of progress.
Right.
And we did. And lo and behold, like I teach all of our mentees, I said, here's how you find deals. You either go direct to the seller, the owner, or you go direct to the brokers. But I said, the direct to seller approach, while it's a good approach, it's very expensive and time consuming. So I said, if you have limited time, let's say you're in a 9 to 5 or you have another career, you have to earn money for that.
Yeah. You
obviously can't spend 24 hours a day looking for deals.
Right.
You have probably 2 hours a day.
Right.
So how do you be efficient? And so you leverage the brokers who have on-market deals, and they're on the websites.
Right.
But those aren't the good ones. The good ones are
Off
off-market.
Yeah.
But you need to build a relationship in order to get that. So that's what I did. And I sell all the on-markets. I called the brokers, and I said, hey, I'm going to be out there on such date. I'd like to tour the properties, meet you, and blah, blah, blah. And I did that. I toured 3 properties with 3 different brokers. And then with those brokers, I asked who are good PM companies that you like in the area that your clients use. So they gave me 3 PM companies, private or property managers.
Yeah.
And so I toured them and I interviewed them. So now I had 3 brokers, 3 property management companies. When I interviewed the property management companies, I said, hey, do you have renovation construction guys that your clients use to renovate and construct their buildings?
Well, yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
So now I have 3 brokers, 3 PM companies, and 3 renovation crews. And now I have my little team in Kansas City.
That's amazing.
And now deals start flowing through my inbox, and I found the deal. And it happened to be a 27 unit.
Wow.
It was right in that pocket of 10 to 30 units, which is what I recommend.
Right.
And I was able to get into that deal. This is how cool it is. We bought the thing for $2.2 million.
Okay.
We put in $250,000 in reno.
Okay.
We got a $1.7 million loan. And that loan is easier than getting a $200,000 house loan.
Why is that?
Because banks underwrite the property. They don't underwrite you. Okay. So when you go buy a house, what does the bank do? They bend you over. Yeah. They put a rod inside you with no lube. And
it's so true.
Right?
Sorry, everybody out there, but like, they're wrong.
But when it's commercial,
it's different.
Yeah, they're underwriting the business. The business is the property.
Right.
It's generating revenue. It's got expenses. That's profit.
Yeah.
And that profit paid the bank.
Yep.
That's simple. And if it pays them enough, they're good. Here, they'll throw the money out the front window.
It's amazing.
So we got the loan and now dealt with the equity, like the down payment, which of that, I think it was $800,000 in debt. And that included everything from renovations, all the money.
Okay.
And so I'm sitting there going, shit, I don't have the $100,000. Right. So here's how the OPM game works. So we came in with 10%.
Okay.
That's $80,000. Yep. When you syndicate, you get also an acquisition fee that's built into the overall cost. That's typically 3% of the purchase price.
Okay.
So even though we came in with 80,000, the day we closed escrow, I got an acquisition fee out of it.
Right.
That was 3% of $2 million.
Wow.
$60,000.
Yep.
So how much was I out of pocket?
Yeah.
$20,000.
Yeah.
So it's physically out of pocket,
$20,000.
And I had control of a 27 unit, $2.2 million apartment building in the Midwest.
And you did this with your partner, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And then the other money came in from 7 other people.
Yeah.
So some people do it with friends and family. Right. That's how you syndicate. Some people use seller financing. Right. That's another way of OPM. Some people use a private lender. That's OPM. Some people use
it can literally be anything.
Yeah. OPM.
Yeah. Other people's money.
Right.
Yeah.
And as long as you're bringing money to the game, then it's when people try and do this without any money. Then
I've
heard I have a problem.
Yeah.
I don't know how you get investors.
I don't know.
Because how could you get people to invest with you when one of their questions is going to be, how much are you guys putting in?
Well, and it feels kind of shady. Like, I know
it's not.
It's not, but it feels, I can see, there was someone, this came up recently that a agent friend of mine knows somebody who does it, and he like touts that he like never puts in any money. And I was like, that was my first question, was like, how does he even get like the clout? How do people trust?
So if you're doing that with lenders, meaning if the lenders, private lenders, and lenders are putting in all the money and you're not putting,
Then that's different.
that's different
Okay.
because the lenders know what they're getting into.
Right.
But if you are taking just
Invest.
friends and family and you're not putting skin in the game,
Interesting.
it's a bit deceiving.
Yeah.
I don't know how you get that. Some people do it.
And I don't know what
I wouldn't.
shtick was, but
That's how it started. We got a 27 unit. That was our first kind of syndicated deal.
yeah.
And I had $20,000 out of pocket
That's really cool.
on that ownership controlled of that deal.
Yep. Do you still have it today or no?
We're selling it as we speak.
Oh, no way.
We're at that 6-year time frame where
Yeah. It's time to go.
Yeah.
It's time to go. And then will you then roll that into something else immediately?
a combo. So yes, we will have to avoid taxes.
As a
But with that 1031 exchange,
You're not. Okay.
no. So here's the other secret that people don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Is the whole cost segregation accelerated appreciation game.
Mm-hmm.
So this is how like the rich keep getting richer and they leverage debt to get there.
Right.
So, we'll end up making several $100,000s on that deal.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have a taxable event
Right.
if we do nothing.
Right.
But what we'll do is we'll take those gains because that's why we always close the deals in first quarter.
Yeah.
Because if we close Q1, I have 3 quarters to go find another deal.
Okay.
And if I find another deal, we put that money, a portion of it, not all of it, a portion of it, whatever our taxable amount is going to be.
Right. So you're only doing the taxable amount basically. Right. Yeah.
So if I know, let's say we get
You get to,
$300,000 out of the deal,
right.
but our taxable amount is 100.
Right. You're gonna.
So then I'm going to take 100 because that's our taxable amount that I'm going to either give to Uncle Sam or I'm going to go stick it into a real estate asset.
Why would you give that to Uncle Sam when?
Based on everything I see right now, I don't want to going off to Timbuktu, Africa.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, all the stuff we're seeing that coming out of the government now.
Yeah.
But anyhow, yes, you put that $100,000 into a multifamily building.
Right.
And then you do a cost segregation step.
Mm-hmm.
And then you depreciate that asset. You accelerate the depreciation on it. So you get that $100,000 that we were going to pay to Uncle Sam. I would get that as a tax break. Right.
As you put it into something.
Correct. Rather than, so I'm going to have my taxable of that of $100,000.
Right.
But I'm going to take and I'm going to offset it with this deal.
Yeah.
And that way it pretty much wipes out.
Yeah.
And then you just keep going.
Behind the Lockbox is sponsored by Property Showcase Group. Property Showcase Group has a team of creatives, directors, producers, editors, marketing specialists, and designers that work in tandem to tell and share stories of the built environment. Whether you're looking for full-service production or simply just in content creation, Property Showcase Group can help take your business to the next level. To learn more or to contact Property Showcase Group to schedule a consultation, you can find them at propertyshowcasegroup.com. That's spelled PROPERTYSHOWCASEGROUP.com. PropertyShowcaseGroup.com. I'm back to talk about our sponsor and producer, Property Showcase Group. This is for all my agent and affiliate friends out there. Property Showcase Group has a special offer for you. The first 3 agents to email Property Showcase Group at teampsg@propertyshowcasegroup.com will get 1 month free of social media management using code LOCKBOX. That's right, 1 month free. And they're offering 20% off your first video production using code LOCKBOX. For more information, contact Property Showcase Group at teampsg@propertyshowcasegroup.com and don't forget to use code LOCKBOX or mention this podcast.
That's how you scale money. But I had to learn that. It wasn't like I had to woke up one day. I was like, yay.
Yes.
So people need to understand, if you want to make movements in life, you either have the money, that's the check, or you have the sweat.
I love
You decide which check you want to bring.
Is what you're teaching at the school thing?
Yeah.
Well, I registered. I'm going.
Good.
Yeah.
I love it.
He sends me a link this morning. He's like, can you check this link for me? I was like, hell yeah, I can. And I was like, oh, I'm going to leave that on the calendar. I'm busy with this.
You know what I'm so passionate about it? Is because it's a win-win.
Yeah.
Meaning there's lots of gurus out there teaching people how to do things, but they're just trying to sell courses and mentorships and stuff.
Just as happened to me recently. I had to ask you something offline. I didn't know somebody because I was super
little.
But yeah, a little. Well, they tried. I didn't give them out money, but I was like, are you getting me? Okay. Anyway, I'll talk to you about it.
So, and I was approached with this a few years ago, and I'm like, listen, the only way I can have a conscience at this and do this correctly is if I can create a win-win situation. So I said, because people were asking for mentorship.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't have the time to do one-on-one.
Right.
And if I did, it'd be very expensive.
Right.
But I said, what if, and I just didn't want to go sell lots of courses.
Right.
But I said, what if I could create a community
Mm-hmm.
of well-trained investors who were teaching to be well-trained. They're collaborating, talking, partnering, raising money together, doing things around the country in different areas of the country.
Right.
And then we're helping them get into their first, second, fifth, 10th deal.
Yeah.
So they're getting wealthy, they're growing their portfolio,
Right.
and they're making their dreams happen.
Yeah.
So I'm fulfilled by that. In return, I know, and I know it's because it's happening, they're naturally going to want to go a little larger on the next one.
For sure.
But they're not going to be able to do it alone.
Right.
So what happens is now partnerships happen.
Yeah.
So then they would come to our community and say, hey, I see this 80 unit apartment building. I want to take it down, but I don't have enough money.
Right.
Do you know anybody that
Who can
take it down with us?
Yes.
Maybe we will.
Yeah.
So now we would otherwise never see that 80 unit. Now we see the 80 unit.
Yeah. You know, the right way to think about it, because I think there's this movement too with, you know, it's so many, the joke is, right, like that, like agents who like teach and do all these courses are coaching because they like couldn't hack it, right? The ways yours,
True to that.
there is absolutely truth to it. No offense, but there is. But it's, I think I'm definitely of that whole community mindset, right? Like, and people are short-sighted. Like they want to sell but they're not giving to receive anything. And so the fact that you want to create this community, you want to create a space where people, and it also creates just learning from each other, right? Like you might meet someone that you're like, I would have never met this person if this person hadn't brought them. I mean, there's just so much there.
Yeah, and that's why we've been specifically aware, rather than it being like one-on-one Zooms.
Yeah.
We did small group Zooms.
Right.
Because we just had one yesterday. They get on, there's 5, 6 people.
Yeah.
They're different investors at different stages.
Yep.
One may have a deal we need to talk about right now.
Right.
And by going and talking about that deal right now, walking through it's going to teach the other 4.
For sure.
Like all bullshit.
For sure. I mean, it's just, there's a couple groups that I belong to, and even just in just the real estate space itself, just the regular real estate space itself. Like, yeah, you can move back, me too. I know it falls over and we're like, oh, we're done. I'm always bought ahead. Oh, but it's like I referred a deal to somebody the other day and they just called me like, oh my God, I have someone else for you. You know, so when you get in groups like that, in communities, like that's different, but it's the same idea, right? Like
the concept of freely you give,
yeah,
freely you receive.
Exactly.
What is that? A motto at the top of the sign at Pepperdine University around demolished.
Yeah, I love Pepperdine. I did a summer there. It was beautiful.
It's crazy what happened with the fires.
I
looked at it. I mean, it's wild.
It's wild. I know. It's so sad. I hope they can figure out how to rebuild faster than.
So that is my long-winded story where we're at today.
This literally was not the episode I was hoping or thinking we were going to do, but it was the episode I needed. Yeah. Like, I really love this. This is amazing. For everyone who has not listened to your podcast, let's talk a little bit about that quickly. So I've listened to some episodes, and again, it's the whole giving. Like, I like the premise of what you guys talk about. Give us a quick synopsis of what the podcast is about.
Well, yeah, it started a couple of years ago. I was in my living room watching YouTube, and
YouTube is just
and my kid in here, I think Mr. Beast. I'm like, who is this guy? He's just going out giving people a bunch of free shit.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, oh, this guy's interesting. So long story short, I looked him up, and in the beginning, he was just playing video games.
Yeah.
Had like 1,000 subscribers.
Insane.
And then he flipped the switch and he started going to like Best Buy and Walmart, these stores, and he'd cover something up on the floor. He'd go grab a random person in the store, bring him over and pull over like the sheep and say, hey, whatever you can fit in a circle in the next 5 minutes, you get. Right. And so, of course, people are crying. They're like grabbing shit and they're freaking out. And it's create all this chaos goes viral.
Yeah.
So that was the start of the Mr. Beast, which is the giving concept.
Yes.
And that it will reciprocity to us.
Yeah.
And so I said, there's a lot of podcasts out there.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of podcasts that just interview successful entrepreneurs.
Right.
But I said, what if we could create a podcast where rather than just talk about your successes and your tactics and your strategies, what if I would get few layers deep?
Yeah.
Talk about how giving, helping others has created abundance in your life. Mm-hmm. Hence the podcast name, that's on STF. Yeah. And that's what started with 2 years ago.
That's super cool. Yeah. And
there's a purpose.
There is a purpose. And, this podcast was born out of a tough market coming into 2022. And everything shifted, right? And things were real gravy.
Listen, the stories that I've heard on this podcast, and that's why I got to give you a couple of mine.
Yeah, you do. Okay, we're getting there. But it was
for sex.
Oh my God. Oh,
Found a dead guy in a closet.
yes. Like, but that's where the premise of it came from, is just like needing to laugh with each other. You know what I mean? And like, just, it was a creativity that I needed. It was an outlet that I needed. And as you've seen from other episodes and other clips, like, it goes crazy places. Sometimes it gets educational like it has today. Sometimes we talk about dildos that they find, or this is a great transition. Let's talk about you getting propositioned for sex. Go.
So this was a La Jolla homeowner.
I love that it was a lawyer.
And
The best.
apparently, because when I went to the listing presentation,
And was this recent, or were you
so this is
like when you were
2016.
So you were, okay, this is when you were in the height of selling residential real estate.
Yes.
Okay.
2016.
Okay.
And anyhow, I go to the listing presentation. First of all, she calls me up and she's like, "Oh,
She saw your photo. She's like, oh, yeah.
something." I don't know what it was, but then I come to find out, yeah, she saw me in a magazine. I was in like the luxury magazine, like posing or something. And anyhow, she called me off of that. So it's not
luxury.
got advertising it worth. And anyhow, get to the house. We go through it. You know, you sense a little awkwardness or
You know, like some
blurriness
here.
or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to just chat and build rapport and all that stuff. And she just starts to get very like kind of friendly.
She's stroking your arm.
Kind of, yes. I mean, not like like the giggling, laughing kind of setup. Like what girls tend to do.
So you're like, okay, let's get back to the marketing presentation.
Right. And I don't even know how to handle it, but I'm trying to like push it off and be cordial,
right,
and stuff. And push come to shove, we sit down and I asked her, "So how did you find me again?" And she's like, "Oh," like she pulled out the magazine.
She's like, "I have it framed above my bed."
Right. I'm like, "Oh, I've never been called for a listing presentation off of a magazine thing before."
Great.
And then I come to find out she's recently divorced. She's lonely.
Oh boy.
Has some dogs and all that stuff. And
you were married at this time.
I was married at this time.
Yeah. So she saw that ring and was like, "Challenge accepted."
My wife's like, "Hey, take one for the team."
Yeah. And she's like, "Come on, get this listing. We don't have a lot of," yeah, exactly.
But long story short with it, she very kindly tried to solicit for it without actually soliciting for it.
Oh, I was so hoping that she just like disrobed and had like lingerie on or something.
Yeah, that would have been really interesting. But she wasn't the most attractive.
Yeah. Was she much older?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And her,
She
Justin. She had a husband years ago who passed. Many years ago.
God.
She's had some
You did
boyfriends since then. But no, we actually are triple listing.
I was saying, did you get the listing? Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did.
And then we sold it. We did a great job. She actually built a great friendship with her.
Oh.
And that's it.
She was like, "All right, fine, you can sell my house." I was hoping, something else would happen, but okay, I guess this is fine. Do you know Vinny Crudo? Oh, it's Crudo.
Oh, yeah.
So he was on the podcast.
Yeah.
And him and Ross.
Oh, God. They're crap ups.
Crack ups. They walked into a listing here in La Jolla. Maybe it was the same woman. Vince, you'll have to, we'll figure out offline. And they walked in, but she was in a robe and lingerie. She was not so subtle. Subtle as a shotgun, some might say. And they were like, "Hands off, don't hug her, don't tell, like, what do we do?" You know what I mean? And they're
in it together.
They were in it together and both married, but Ross is there. I mean, Ross is just like, you can only imagine, right? Like, he was just like, "What did you do?" He's like, "We got through the listing presentation." And I was like, "All right, did you get the listing?" He's like, "We did, but it got weirder." It's just that you never know what you're gonna walk in on, you know what I mean? So at least it wasn't that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, wait, you said you had one more?
Yeah, and this was years before that, but I was in the development game with my dad on one of his complexes he was building. And it was a for sale product, townhomes.
Okay.
So they're built, models are up.
Yeah.
And so I was walking through before the sales team was going to be closing everything down for the day.
Mm-hmm.
And upstairs in these are townhomes, and somehow I'm still trying to figure this out.
Oh gosh.
How he was left in there or not left in there, but open up a closet upstairs is the linen as you go towards the master, and some dead dudes in the closet. I think he OD.
So maybe like broke in, like squatter status, like he looked homeless, that situation?
No.
Okay.
No. I mean, didn't look like he was well-to-do either.
But he wasn't a worker.
No.
So it was some random like off the street and
yeah, he'd done a model tour, but stayed in there and they didn't catch.
Oh my God.
He was trying to close out, and we found him in the closet.
No. So he did a tour.
It was left in there. Yeah.
Oh.
And then went into the closet and shot up some stuff. And
Did you find stuff there? Okay. So then okay. So it wasn't like you had a heart attack and like.
No.
I don't know what I would do if I found a dead body. Like, I'm literally trying to think, like, I would probably scream and then try to do CPR. I don't even know.
Well, I jumped because you don't expect to open a closet
And
anyone, let alone
no.
dead person.
Did he look dead or?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so
Because
like there, you didn't think he was
Oh yeah,
sleeping.
yeah. He'd been there an hour. Yeah, I don't know. But,
A while, like you could
yeah,
help.
how much I'll use.
No blood to the face. Yeah. Oh my God, Justin, that's so traumatic. And you're still in real estate. People like tell all these crazy stories all the time, and I'm like, oh, and you didn't quit. That's so good for you.
You're a trooper.
Michelle Dykstra, do you know Michelle?
Oh yeah.
She was on a couple weeks ago, and there was a toddler when she was an assistant in her 20s that ran and hit a plate glass window on the second floor.
Oh shit.
It shattered, and there was no Juliet balcony. It was just a window, and she grabbed him because there was a big
Coming down. Oh
yeah, and she grabbed him, but in the midst, when she took him with her arms, she squeezed a bunch of glass into him, so he was like bleeding. And oh my God, the agent was in another room. She was like, "You watch the kids. I'm going to tour them around," because it was a big house here in La Jolla. I can get up on Colgate, she said, and like she screamed, and like he's screaming, and like the parents come in, and at first they were like, "What the, did you do to him?" And then of course, like she saved his life because he was about to tumble, and it was concrete below, like it was a patio below. Party's over, like he would have died. And I was like, "Oh my God, Michelle!" And I was like, "And you stayed. You're still in real estate. Like it didn't make you leave."
Yeah, he's a trooper, man.
She is. She's amazing. I love her. So okay, do you want to play a game really quick?
Please.
This might incite some stories for you, so you never know. Okay. I know. Take a sip of water before. It's easy, I promise. It's called Punch List, okay? So just the first three things, or the first thing that comes to mind, 3 questions. I think we've already answered this first one with the dead body, but like you might have another one that will jog your memory. What is the weirdest thing or situation you've ever walked in on?
That.
Probably the dead body, I would say, especially when you see paraphernalia on the ground that like he's OD'd. I'm traumatized for you. I still don't know what I would do. Okay. What is your biggest pet peeve?
People that are late.
I love it. I
Like
how quick you were with it. I've got a list.
Perpetually late.
Isn't it wild?
Listen, there's leeway.
Of course. That's
10
not
minutes.
in San Diego, but like maybe she'd a text something.
Well, just 10 minutes either way.
You want to hear something?
You're totally fine.
That happened
But
in a-
if you're perpetually late, because what that signals, and I know that the person that's perpetually late doesn't understand this, but what it signals is your disrespect for people.
You don't care. Correct. Exactly.
Even though you don't see it that way.
Right.
That's how the world sees it.
So I rarely talk shit on this podcast, but sometimes I do. 2 weeks ago, yeah. No. Last Sunday, I was showing my listing up in Oceanside.
Yeah.
And the agent had sent me a text the night before. You know when you sometimes get a feeling that like something is maybe going to go awry, like or
At the presentation or at the
no, like with the person texting you, like the agent, maybe you just kind of know this might be a shit show. Do you know what I'm saying? Okay. So I go ahead and set the showing anyway, and I have to show this listing. So I live in La Jolla, and I'm driving 45 minutes to Oceanside. Okay, it's a long way, but these clients I'll do anything for. I bought and sold multiple things with them, like they're amazing. And if they're still living there, so I need to be there to show. And I usually show all my own listings, even if I have to put it on lockbox, I will. But like usually I'm there.
Sure.
So I get out of the car. It's 3 minutes till the appointment, and I feel like I'm running late, right? Because traffic was horrendous. And I'm like running in, and I don't see anybody out front. So I'm like, great, it's a townhome. So I like run upstairs, and as I'm entering the condo, I get a phone call from the agent, and she was like, "Hey, so we're running a little behind, and it's 3 minutes to the appointment, okay?" And I'm like, "Okay, like, well, how much time? Like, I can hang out for a little bit." And she's like, "At least an hour or 2."
I would lose my shit.
I did.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. You knew.
Yeah. 2 hours to go.
You knew 40 minutes ago, 30 minutes ago that you were running behind. They were still here in La Jolla looking at property.
Oh my God.
I let it rip. I rarely do, but I literally was like, and she was like, "You know how it goes?" And I said, "Yeah, I do know how it goes when you're a strong agent." I mean, I wasn't. I'm sorry. I was pissed because I just drove. It was my only showing that day. I drove 45 minutes
Yeah.
and then 45 minutes home for nothing.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and not to mention the seller got the house ready. That's the other thing that actually pisses me off.
Yeah, our seller's prep.
She is amazing. Lights are on, candles are on, every bed is made. Like, you know, it's not just like you show up, you've had some sellers where you're having to go around and fry stuff or whatever. No.
Yeah, she's prepped.
This is not that.
Yeah, and that takes time.
It takes
She's
time.
thinking about it pretty much the whole morning.
Exactly. And she made everybody leave. Everyone's out of the house. They have kids that live there, you know, the whole thing.
So there's a lot of crap.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, they were pissed. And it's not your fault, but they're pissed.
She was actually like, it's okay. We're out anyway. Not a big deal. They're, again, the best clients. But
Yeah, that's a nice respect from an agent that they listen.
They,
You 100% knew.
She 100% knew. And it's just like, anyway, I'll tell you who it is later. So I want to see if you know this person. Okay. If you could be anything other than a real estate agent, what would you be and why?
If I could be anything else.
Sounds like you've been doing this since you were 5. So I'm very
between real estate in general. But
Yeah.
what would I be? I would be I'd be country singer.
That's what I said.
Yeah, I'd be country singer.
That's exactly what I said. And everyone's like, can you sing? And I'm like, no. Can you?
Maybe.
Part 2, you're going to sing. And I will not say, I'll do, yeah.
I'll get my guitar and get drunk, then we'll do that.
Okay, fine.
I'll have my cowboy hat on.
Okay, well, when I come to Abundance to Give, I'll be.
My girlfriend keeps asking. She's like, "Listen, I keep hearing that you can do this, but you."
I've never seen it personally, so she's gonna need. I'm gonna invite her to the time when we record. I'm gonna bring some shots of tequila. I'll bring her a guitar. We're gonna start. I cannot wait. I literally, no one else has had that answer, and that was my anscer.
There we go.
How fun would it be? On a stage, I'm just they'd be like just
country is,
slight baby, and I don't know.
Listen, I used to not like country.
Oh,
But then I started to listen to the lyrics, and I'm like, I need a soul, man.
it is like in your soul.
Yeah.
I know.
And I feel like if you don't like country, we need to get you to like country. And if you still don't like country, what's wrong with you?
Todd, he's talking to me. This is my brother that I'm talking to.
Yeah, because
He used to like country and never listened.
because like a soul, like there's just a soul.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you know how many people are like, I don't like, no. And I'm like, it's about your dog's dead years. I'm like, that is not what it's about. See, they're not listening. I know.
But you know what you get when you play country music backwards, right?
No.
You get your dog back, your house back. You get out of your car back.
So it
We know all we're an alcoholic and not divorced.
Girlfriend's back.
And girlfriend's back
Yeah,
and we're cheering
yeah,
and your life's
yeah.
hunky dory. That's what happens when you say country music backwards.
But it's so good.
You got all your whiskey back in your apartment.
Isn't it so good for the soul, though?
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah. Have you ever been to Stagecoach?
Oh yeah, I go every year.
I have not. But in Arizona, we had Country Thunder.
This is a big one too.
And I was there all through my 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Stagecoach is great. I've been there
I want to go.
3 years in a row. I was actually looking at tickets yesterday to see if we want to do it again.
We're talking about doing it.
Luke Combs is there, and yeah, just gotta see if I can get out there for it. But I'm gonna see.
Same, because it's coming up.
It is
Like in 2 months.
2 months.
Isn't it April?
That at April.
Yeah.
It's a lot last weekend in April after like crazy people go out there with that's it.
Total
Yeah.
Yeah, that I haven't done either. It can't.
I don't need to do that. I don't need ballistics. And
No,
and
it's not for me. No, it's not for me. No, but Stagecoach, I'm down for.
Oh, I mean,
We're probably gonna forget about this, and then we're gonna need each other.
Like if you're single and you want to meet like good-looking guys or good-looking girls, country music.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you.
I know.
If you're a single guy and you're looking for beautiful single women,
I know.
dressed in country outfits and boots and badoogies or whatever else they wear.
I will be there. I'm telling you. I know. See, from the West, Justin Brennan. Greatest show honor. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Yes, I appreciate
It's fun behind the lockbox.
I know. Isn't
Let me ask you one question.
Yeah,
Finish.
please.
How many episodes have you done?
You will, well, we've launched 76. You will be 79.
79.
Mm-hmm.
I was born in 1979. So there's a reason for it. Look at
So,
so out of the 79 episodes, what is the craziest story behind the lockbox you've heard so far that comes to your mind?
So there's a couple that come to mind very, very quickly. One is Brandon Wilcox and the fact that he seems to find dildos all the time. And I said to him, what does that say about you? And he's like, I don't really know, Steph. And I was like, I'm just asking for a friend. He, in fact, we were recording a couple weeks ago. I had Matt Toby and Matt Davies on. Do you know him?
Yeah, I'm not helping.
Okay. So Unhinged, if you haven't listened to the episode, I'm sorry for anyone who's still listening, but it was actually really funny. It was a great episode. And in the middle of us recording, he literally sends me a video of a dildo he found. He finds them on the streets of San Diego. And I'm like, Brandon, I have never found one on the street of San Diego, and he like sticks them on his friends' cars and like, oh my God, it's hysterical. And he sends us videos, and then I like put them on
Yeah,
here.
that means you're looking for.
That's what I said. I was like, what does this mean for like?
What you should look
What
for.
are you looking for then? Because I have also, it's come up a couple times, and I'm like, I have not seen one, and I'll kind of put it in his eye.
You'll find any dildos.
I had never. I'm actually sad. I've never seen one at a property. I'm like waiting for that to happen, which many people had.
Actually, and they leave them out.
Yeah, one person actually walked in, and there was like a shrine of like 50 of them, and I was like, interesting. Okay, so like I'm sad that I haven't like walked in on these things yet.
So we can finish on this. So this is a story that happened at Sea House a few years ago. It's not my story. It's not my story.
Okay.
But an agent lost their license because of this.
Oh shit.
And the owner was out of town.
Oh boy.
They had a property at Sea House. And the agent took their girlfriend there, vacant property, and had sex all over the house. And then the owner came in.
While it was happening? Do
I'm not saying the name.
You're going to tell me offline?
No.
Yes. No. He's just saying that for legal purposes, but he's really going to tell me offline. Allegedly this happened. The other story that really stuck with me, our friend up in Pasadena, he had a house, and old Pasadena, those houses are super old, right? And there was just bad vibes in the house. And he literally would go in, turn on all the lights, get the open house ready, and you would hear a shower turn on upstairs. And he would go upstairs, and the shower was off, but everything was wet. Like the shower had been on, and nobody was there. There was a few other things that kept happening. It was really freaking him out. His mom is really good friends with a shaman in LA. So they called a shaman, and he's like, just give me the address. And he calls back, and he's like, so there's a port. Oh, I'm forgetting the other part. When they toured to take the listing, and the family had moved out, and I think this is probably why, but they open up a closet, and there's like a Narnia door in the closet, but there's all these drawings of their daughter had done in the closet of her and her friends. Well, she was seeing spirits, essentially. Kids, they say, can see that because they're just still very, unimpressionable or whatever. And the Narnia door went into the attic, essentially. But it was just very creepy. He immediately had bad vibes. And he's like, I'm not a woo-woo type person, but like I knew something is going on. And she was like, this is my friend. And like she was kind of explaining who she was seeing. And the dad was like, we don't know who these people are, like whatever. Well, apparently there was a spirit portal that had opened up in the house, in that closet, in the attic. And it was not a good one. I didn't even know like this was a bad thing.
Spirit portals existed.
They can be anywhere. And he was like, I've closed it for now. And I was like,
What do you mean you closed it?
no, but does that mean they're going to come back? Like, what do you mean? Like, we were so awestruck by this episode. We were like, what? Like, insane. And it was definitely not good energies, not good people that had passed that basically were almost in purgatory, if you will. Like, they haven't quite crossed over, probably to hell, because who the hell wants to go to hell? Looks really hot down there. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Right. And so that was another one that like really stuck out. And once they closed the portal, the house sold. But like he refused. He called his mom. He's like, I'm not going back there. I'm not doing more open houses. I am not going to get sucked in. But like they were definitely fucking with him. Like turning on the shower, lights would flicker. Things would fly off. Like a staging plant would fly off the counter. Like just, yes. And I was like, so yeah, we've had some good stories.
That was a trip.
Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of spirits, and you know who Tyler Henry is?
Yeah. I love him.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he recently shared a post of mine on his Instagram because I was talking about my sister.
Yeah.
And
were you talking about her on the podcast?
Yeah.
Did you tag him or did he come up?
I tagged him, and then because you can collaborate.
Yes.
And he accepted the collaboration.
Wow.
So it's on his
such a sweetheart.
It's on his Instagram.
His
anyhow, it got like
shows
a few 100,000 views.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But because I talked about his book, Between Two Worlds. Have you read that?
I have not, but I
read the book.
I will, because
wow.
There's another book I'm gonna send it to you. I want you to read. Do you see signs from your sister?
Yes.
Yes. I believe in that. And I have seen
because I'm sitting there reading the book, and this is literally right after she passed. I was traveling down to Australia, and I was on plane and reading the book and stuff. And her favorite song was Neil Diamond. What's it? Neil Diamond. I'm like blanking on it.
I am too. I mean, I know his stuff, but yeah,
Like like
one of his famous.
yeah, it's showing it back butterflies.
Yeah.
And I literally get down to Australia and I get out of the plane. The first song that starts playing when I get out of the plane is the Neil Diamond song. And then, yeah, she loves butterflies and sunflowers. So it's wild. But yeah, you do see signs here and there.
If you're open to it, they will send them to you. And so I actually, I'm seeing my medium again in June, but I have a medium that I see a couple times, every other year or whatever. And the first time that I went to her, so she was vetted through University of Arizona, Stanford, Harvard. Like they've done some vetting just to see the brain activity that happens when she does these readings and things, right? And so my mom and I actually went, sorry, the first thing she says to me is, did you invite everybody here today? And I was like, I don't know. Who's here? Tell me who's here. And literally everyone came through. I lost my best friend when I was 17, traumatically. And my dad's mom has passed, who I've been
Pure lines
with. Oh, such a good one. You're going to hear it too. I guarantee you're going to hear it in the next day or I'm going to hear it. I'm going to be like, your sister came through. But yeah, I mean, have you seen a medium? Have you had a reading?
No.
You should.
Yeah, I know I haven't, but I wanted to get read by Tyler Henry.
I hope he does.
Which is why it was cool when he shared.
Yeah, you should. Have you reached out?
No, I mean, we were on Instagram a little bit, but I guess it's dry.
You need to reach out. You need to reach out, and I'll give you my girls. I mean, it's a wait list, but like it's worth it. I mean, your sister will absolutely come barreling through, like they do, and it's just it gives closure. Like the crazy thing that happened for me is my grandma, my dad's mom, wasn't totally identifying herself right away. Like she was saying, the medium was saying things and, they kind of scribble. Tyler scribbles as well. And I was getting frustrated because it had been like 15 minutes and I was like, I can't tell. And I was like, who is this person? And she was like, she wasn't able to really tell me who it was. Like my grandma wasn't identifying herself. And so then in my head, and my mom is sitting next to me, and I had just strung an opal that I had gotten out of her jewelry box after she passed on a brand new 24 karat gold chain. I was like, if I'm going to wear this, I'm going to do it justice. I bought a solid gold chain. I put it on the week before. So I had it on. I had a crew neck sweatshirt on like this, and I put it on. And so you couldn't see that I was wearing the necklace. And in my head, I kept saying, if this is you, just say butterfly or necklace, because I also get signs of butterflies. Like monarch butterflies will smack me in the head. And I'm like, Flah! And I'll start laughing and I'm like, hi, Graham. And it's her giving me like butterfly kisses is like what we've always said. And so, or when I'm thinking about her or whatever, like I just see them all the time, even in like the winter when you're like, there's not better, whatever, you know what I mean? You're just like, this is fucking wild. And the medium was like, starts scribbling and she kind of grabs her chest like this. And she's kind of making this motion, like trying to grab a necklace or something. Right. And I'm like, oh my God. And she's like, do you have something close to your heart? And I was like, what do you mean? Because I'm not giving this lady an inch. The first time that I met with her, I wanted to really see what was what, right? And she's like, do you have jewelry that you've recently purchased, or did you do something? Did you recently string something on a new chain? She would have never known this, right? And I was like, oh. And I was like, yes. And she's like, are you wearing it now? And I like pulled it out and she was like, and this mother figure says when you see the butterflies, it's her. And Justin, I could cry right now. Like I was inconsolable. Like I was hysterically crying. It was insane. And so I really recommend you to do that. I think, I'm not sure how she passed, but it gives you the closure that you need. And like, she's always with you and she always will be, but like to have them come through this other person to literally tell you like they're okay.
Yeah.
It's a gift that you'll always carry with you. Yeah.
Story.
Yeah.
It's a great story.
My best friend came through, everybody, like literally everybody. It was wild. And we were told by a few people like that doesn't always happen. Like sometimes it gets frustrating or they just don't want to freak you out or whatever the case may be. But like, I have no doubt. Were you guys close?
Yeah, pretty close.
Yeah. I have no doubt that she will. So yeah, you got to do it.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that. I love that.
Okay, I'm going to send her the info. Okay. On that note,
behind the
lockbox, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. All right, guys. Thank you. And please don't forget, subscribe to the YouTube, follow us on Behind the Lockbox on Instagram, like, subscribe, follow, leave a kind review, all the things. go listen to Abundance to Give as well. We love it. All right, guys. See you next week. Bye. Thanks for listening. Behind the Lockbox is produced and edited by Property Showcase Group. If you like this podcast, please share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, or review this podcast. Thanks for your support. See you next week.